So here's the question I want you to answer, and I genuinely want you to answer this. When you tap your phone to pay for something, what's actually happening? Because here's what I used to think. I thought we already had perfectly good digital money. It turns out I had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. All that's actually happening when you tap your phone for an overpriced Starbucks is that your bank is updating their ledger. They're removing £20 on the account, they're just deducting the numbers on a digital screen, and then they're telling another bank to update their ledger. That's it. We're not actually moving any physical money. We're trusting a middleman to update a spreadsheet on our behalf. And to be honest, that works fine most of the time for most people, until you're a man in Lebanon in 2019 whose father was dying and your savings to pay for the surgery are sitting in a bank that won't let you have it because the government had printed too much money too quickly. And the reason that they weren't letting people into the banks is because things like this was happening. Or you're a trucker protesting wages in Canada. Or you tweet an opinion that's not allowed. There's one middleman, one point of control, and one point of failure. So here's the question that nobody had ever managed to solve. Can you move money digitally with absolutely no one in between? Before 2008, the answer was no. And then someone called Satoshi Nakamoto solved it. For the first time in human history, two people who don't know or trust each other can exchange value directly online with no bank, no PayPal, no government, no permission required. In exactly the same way that once fire was discovered, it couldn't be undiscovered. That was the 0 to 1 moment, and you can't uninvent it. So here's the question that everyone asks when they hear this. If Bitcoin was the first to solve this, surely something better just comes along and replaces it. You know, Facebook replaced MySpace, the iPhone replaced the BlackBerry. That's just how technology works, right? But this is where everything changed for me, because Bitcoin isn't a technology, it's a protocol. And protocols are not winner take most, they're winner takes all. In exactly the same way that there's only one internet, there will only be one money protocol. Jeff Booth has probably thought more deeply about this than anyone I've come across.
We typically see technologies as winner take most. New technology, then a new technology replaces it, new technology replaces it. Protocols are different. They come in very narrowly, they do one narrow thing, and then they build layers on top that add more functionality, and they are winner take all, not winner take most. There's only one internet. And on that internet, if you have a VPN, you can access the whole internet anywhere in the world.
Now, do you know what Bitcoin's one narrow thing is? Is letting people exchange value online without a middleman. Securely, every 10 minutes for 17 years. Now, to really understand how protocols work, we need to look at the last one we've ever seen in humanity, and that is the internet. The protocol for the internet was created in 1969, but until the early 90s, that is over 20 years later, it was basically unusable for most people. It took decades of layers being built on top of it before your mum could use it. Bitcoin is doing exactly the same thing. The white paper was written in 2008, but it wasn't until 2017, that's almost 9 years later, that the Lightning Network became possible. A second layer built on top of Bitcoin. Before Lightning, you'd have stood in Starbucks waiting 60 minutes for a transaction to confirm before you could leave to pay with Bitcoin. Yes, even for the £5 cat poop Balinese delicacy coffee. That's genuinely a thing, by the way. But now, more than 9 years after Bitcoin first existed, it is now possible to just tap your phone in exactly the same way that you do with your phone with the bank and pay it instantly with 0 fees. But the thing that makes Bitcoin impossible to replicate is the infrastructure, mainly the miners, the physical computers that are making trillions of guesses every single second only work for Bitcoin. They cannot just switch to another coin description. So the important takeaway that I want you to take from this is just remember that there is only one internet. You can't use a different internet and then watch this video. Everyone that is watching this video is using the same internet. And it will be exactly the same with money. There'll only be one money protocol. But here's the question that always comes next. If nobody owns it, who's stopping someone from just changing it? Because the answer is nobody. And that's exactly the point. So what? You're saying that someone can just change it? You know, like a government, a billionaire, or a bored developer at 2 a.m. Well, technically, yes. But let me tell you about 2017. A large and very powerful faction, miners, businesses, and serious money, decided Bitcoin needed to change. They wanted bigger blocks on the base layer. In hindsight, they clearly didn't understand how protocols work. Because remember, they're trying to change something on the base layer. Remember, protocols are built in layers. The issue that they had was that they thought Bitcoin couldn't scale. Like, as in, you couldn't go and tap your phone and pay for a Starbucks. But remember, the Lightning Network is a layer on top of Bitcoin, which makes that completely possible today. So they had influence, they had funding, and they had a plan, but they lost. Because nodes, thousands of ordinary people, like you and me, were running Bitcoin software on their own computers, and they simply didn't follow. And this is where every conspiracy theory about Bitcoin falls apart. Miners can signal for changes, businesses can lobby for them, developers can promise them, but nodes, they are the ones that decide what gets accepted. To activate any change requires the majority of miners on board, and even then, nodes still decide. And because so many people have to agree about any rule changes to Bitcoin, this takes months, years, enormous peer review. Bitcoin's default answer to any change is no. Not maybe, no. Now, here's the bit that breaks people's brains, because anyone can copy Bitcoin's code, and hundreds have already tried. That's how Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and about 50,000 terrible ideas were created. Even Litecoin's founder publicly admitted he wished he never created it and just stuck with Bitcoin.
Creating Litecoin did not really make me more money. It was a lot of headache. Yeah, it was. Yeah, just if you just buy Bitcoin, keep it away, stay anonymous, sit on it, don't sell anything, it would be better off.
It took him about 10 years and a lot of lost hash rate to figure that out. But copying the code doesn't copy the network, the miners, the nodes, or the trust. It's like copying the US Constitution and declaring yourself president. The paper means nothing without the consensus behind it. But for the first time in human history, there is a money that no government can inflate, no company can shut down, and no individual can control. Not because of a law, not because of a promise, because of mathematics and thousands of people around the world who choose to run a node. We started this video with a problem that stumped the smartest minds on the planet. Someone solved it, built it, and gave it to the world for free. And then they walked away. And what they built is still running every 10 minutes, 17 years later.